Okay, guys, hello. Welcome to Java second class. Well, the second class in the session. Um, we're really glad to have you here, and hopefully more people will join later, but we're just gonna get started now. I'm Alex, one of your Java teachers, as you remember from yesterday. Andrea, do you want to?
Well, I want to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Andrea, and I'm also one of your Java instructors.
And I'm Candice, and I'm your other Java instructor.
Okay, so we're going to get started with our lesson. Just let me share screen. Okay, so today we're talking about Scanner.
Yeah, and so we're gonna be learning about Scanner today, and Scanner is like this useful tool that allows you to get user input. So what that means is, like, for example, if we have like a website like Gmail or Facebook or something, and it asks you for like your username, then the user can enter their username and stuff. So, or like in their password. So it's kind of like interacting with your computer. With the computer and the user. So, yeah.
Candice.
Andrea, could you do? I'm sending the link really quick.
Yeah. Okay.
Andrea?
Yeah. Wait, what?
Wait, are you doing the second slide?
Oh, I thought I was gonna send like the link again.
I'm sending the link. Could you do it?
Oh, can I do the second slide?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Sure. Okay, so to use Scanner, first you want to import it, like right here. It says to import Scanner. So what that does is it just gives you like the ability to use the scanner. And yeah, we're gonna go over an example in the next slide, but basically you import it like right above the class scene, which Alex will show later. So first you need to import it, and then we also need to create a scanner tool. So to do that, we just use this keyword scanner, and then this thing is like the name of your scanner. So you can name it like input, keyboard, user, whatever you want. And then you use this equal sign and then this new, which just means we're creating like a new scanner, and new scanner, and then parentheses system.in and parentheses, and as always, your semicolon. So yeah, next, we have a system.out.println. So this part, enter a number, is just something that like prompts or like asks the user to enter something, like a number. And then to use that, to like get user input, sorry, we have to do something called input, which is the what we named our scanner, and then something called .nextInt, and .nextInt just gives you like an integer, or stores an integer value. So and then we have to store this in a int variable, because just so that we can use what the user inputted. And yeah.
Okay, so this can be a lot of steps all in a row that seem kind of random, but once you do it a few times, you'll get used to using all of them. So now we're going to do an example of how to use a scanner. So you all want to open your BlueJ or whatever code compiler you're using, and then you're going to want to create a new class for today. So the new class button in the top left, and then just name it whatever. So I'm just gonna go talking. And then double click on the new brown box, and you should get a screen with all of this code that looks complicated and confusing. And we're just gonna delete all of that and start a new class. You can follow along with me in typing all this out, or I can copy paste it into the chat once I'm done with all of the foundation code. Public static void main string args. Okay, so I put it in the chat. What did I do? Okay, so if you guys have that typed out, we're going to start our scan like Andrea said before. The first thing we need to do is import the ability for the class to use the scanner tool. It's going to be all the way up here above your class name. You're going to type import java.util.scanner. And again, you can name your class anything you want up here. So we have to type that step up there. And then the second thing we need to do is to make your scanner tool, like Andrea said before. And also, like you can see in the PowerPoint over on the right here, we're going to type scanner. You can name this anything. I'll just go with input equal new scanner system in. And that is how you make your scanner tool. Okay, and so now you're free to start using your scanner. I'm just going to ask the user for a random number so that they know that they can put something in. So to do that, we're going to print a statement like we taught yesterday, and just go enter an integer. Really, let's enter a whole number. So like we did yesterday, this is now going to be printed out to the user. You can see that. And then when they see that, they're going to go, oh, okay, so I'm going to type a number into the computer and press enter. So in order to that number that they typed in, we're going to do as it says in the slide and create an integer value, an integer variable to hold that number. So did this yesterday. We're making an integer variable. So we go int, and then any random name. So I'm just going to call it user answer. And then it equals. And then to use a scanner here, we're going to type input because it's the same thing, this word and this word. Dot, and then next int to get the integer variable that the user typed in. So that should be the basics of how to use a scanner, and that this program should ask the user for a whole number and then store that number in an int variable. I'm just going to compile and run it just to check that it works. So the compile button, as you remember, is up here. And then down here, you right click on the brown box, then click the second option. Okay. And so it's going to ask to enter a whole number. Chantel, why don't you give us a random whole number?
20.
Sure. See, like, since it like opens the ability to type into this box, I realized that I make it like use the answer. Actually, we're gonna do that now then. I'm just gonna print out their answer back to them. You typed, and then just going to print out the variable that we stored the value in. Compile again. Oh shoot. Run the code. It asks for a whole number. We put in a whole number, and it grabbed our variable and used it. So yeah.
Yeah, so like this thing might be kind of like confusing to you guys, but I think after more practice and just more exercises, you can like quickly get the hang of it. And so yeah, like right now it might be really like a lot of stuff like thrown at you, but like with more practice, I'm sure you guys can like get used to it. But if any of you guys have any questions, then feel free to tell us, or you can type in a chat, or like, yeah.
All right, so as you can see on the PowerPoint, it says reading other data types. So right now in the example that Alex just did, we did an int variable by using input.nextInt. But we can also use other data types. And if you remember from yesterday when we talked about the different variables, we also had double, which is a number just with a decimal. And we had a string, which is like any text or anything like that. So we can also read those data types using the different things that we see on the PowerPoint. So it's pretty much going to work. It works the same way as the int does, where you do .next, except for double. If you want to do a double, then you do .next double. If you want to do a string, you could do .next line, or yeah, so .next line. If you want to do a Boolean, which I know we didn't talk a lot about, but that's where you just have a true or false, then you could do .next Boolean. And .next is just going to, so the last one where it says just .next, that's going to pick up anything, but it'll only pick up the first thing that shows up. So for example, if you typed in like orange juice, it would only pick up the orange because you have that space separating it. So in the case of two-word inputs like orange juice, then you would want to do .next line in order to pick up everything. But yeah, so it works the same way. You would do the name of your scanner. In this case, the name is input, and then .next, and then whatever data type you want to pick up.
We're just going to try some examples for all of these methods in your compiler. So the first one we're going to do is double. So remember, double is a decimal number. So I'm just going to ask to enter a decimal number. And basically the only thing that's different is this statement. Instead of .nextInt, we're going to go .next double, so the computer knows it's.
And then we need to change our variable type.
Yep, you're right. Because yeah, it's a different type of variable. I guess I'll run it. And Here's the window. Oh, well, this is still from last time, but enter a decimal number. Does someone want to just give us a random decimal? Okay, whatever. I'm going to 63. That's a decimal. And it works here because it's a double and we changed it to reflect that. Now, one of the more common ones is you want to get a string, a sentence, or a word from your user. So we're going to use .next line for string. Notice that it's not .next string, it's .next. Just something you have a chat for. And so we changed that to .next line. And maybe enter a sentence. And of course, we have to change this to a string variable. We're going to run that really quick just so you can see that it works. Does anyone have a random sentence we want to put in?
Coding is cool.
Okay. Coding is cool. We're gonna put that in, and it printed it back out to us. So you see here, it took the sentence "coding is cool," a string, stored it in a string variable, and then printed it back out to us. So
Alex, just to show them, why don't you try doing just .next and don't do the .next line?
Sure. So .next is slightly different from the other ones. It should only take in the first word in the string. So we're gonna go with coding is cool again. And so since we used .next, it only grabbed the first word and stored that and printed back out.
Do you guys have any questions about this so far? Want us to go slower or want us to repeat anything like that? All right. Cool.
Okay, so
a little.
Okay, so just to recap, Scanner is this tool that allows you to get user input, so the user can enter something and the computer can store it in a variable to whatever they want to do with it. So to use Scanner, we have to import it and import java.util.scanner, the semicolon, and we also have to create a new scanner, and then afterwards we import it and create a new scanner. Then we can use it, and we use it by just calling the scanner what we named our scanner. So in this example, I need my scanner input. So to just use scanner, you would just call it by the scanner name and then .next whatever type it is. So if it's a string or if it's an integer or a double, which is a decimal. So yeah, we would do .next line or .next int.
Before we get into this Madlibs game, let's try something we can kind of combine what we learned yesterday with the int variables or decimals, doubles. So Alex, why don't we try something where we have the user enter in like dimensions of like a box or a cube or a triangle, and then it could print out, can multiply whatever you're trying to do, and then you could find like the volume or the area or something like that. So you could kind of combine scanner with stuff that we did yesterday.
Sure. Okay, so you guys know that coding is really useful and it can be used to help us do a lot of rudimentary functions. So now we're going to find the volume of a rectangular prism given the length, width, and height. You've probably learned how to do this in school, but basically to find the volume of like a box, you just need its dimensions. So we're going to write a program that asks the user for the length, width, and height of a box, and then it should spit out the volume of that. So, okay, so first we're gonna need to ask the user for those. We're gonna do that separately. What is the length of the box? As always, we end with a semicolon, and then we're going to make a double variable that's going to store the length. So that's going to be input.next double. You can also use int, but I'm just going to go with double because they might want to. Then we're going to need to do the exact same thing for the width and the height. So I'm just going to type that out.
And if you wanted to try this with any other shape or anything like that, it's the exact same concept. Like if you want to do a triangle, you would just ask for the base and then the height and just, do the formula for that. So if you want to try something different, please feel free to do that as well. It's fun to experiment.
Yep. Okay, so once you have this all typed out, actually, I'm going to give you a minute to do that. Like Candace said, feel free to do any shape you want. I'm just going to go with a box, but you can do anything. Okay, so there are a few ways you can do this, but I always feel like the easiest way is just to make a different variable to store the volume, and then we can print that out to the user so that they can see it. So we're going to make a variable, a double variable called volume that's going to, where we're going to calculate and store the actual volume of the box. And to get the volume, we multiply the length, the width, and the height together. Again, this is something you probably learn in math class, but if you haven't yet, it's okay. It's a really simple formula. So as we said yesterday, to multiply in Java, we're just going to use an asterisk, star. And that should give us our volume. And then finally, we're going to want to print this volume out to the user. So this is going to use another print statement like we used above and like we talked about yesterday. System.out.println, and we're going to tell the user the volume of the box is And then we're combining different things to print out in this single statement. And we're just going to print out the variable volume. I'll remind you that it's really important we don't put quotations around this variable, because if we did this, it would just print out the volume of this box is volume. But we don't want to print out the word volume. We want to print out the variable volume because that's going to give us the actual number. So that's what I'm going to type out. I'll give you another minute to up if you haven't already.
And like how Alex has said before about how there's multiple ways to do this, what she meant is that, like right here, we created a variable called volume, which multiplies length, width, and height. You could skip that altogether and directly print out. So in your system.out.println line, instead of writing plus volume, you could do just directly length times width times height. It would print out the same thing. It's just a matter of preference. So yeah, you could do it any way you like. We're just doing it where you create the variable first and then you print out the variable.
Yeah, like Candace was saying, instead of doing what I did, you can do it like this, and it should give you the same output. But I personally just like to create a variable because, oops, this is a good idea when you code like longer codes. So maybe you want to use the volume again later, and then you don't have to type it out again. But yep. Okay, so I'm going to run it. If you're falling behind or you think we're moving too fast, please just let us know and we'll wait and pause for you. Never feel afraid to speak up or anything. So we're going to compile this code, go to the round box, right click, second option, okay. So does someone want to give me a random length, a double variable, double value that is? Caitlin, do you want to give us a random double?
10.
Okay, sounds good. Nikki, how about a width?
5.
Okay. And then
why don't we do a like a decimal one for the next one?
Sure. Ellie, do you want to give us a decimal?
7.5.
Okay, sounds great. So now we have 3 double values. And then it gave us the volume of the box is 375. I don't know if that's actually right. I think it is, yeah.
Right, does anyone have questions, or did anyone have errors in their code that you want us to help you work out or anything like that? No? Everyone's good to go?
Don't ever be afraid to ask for help. That's what we're here for.
All right, should we move on to the last activity then?
Yep, sounds good. So I'm just going to delete all of this code, but you can comment it out or save it in another class. So we're going to move on to our final activity, which is basically Mad Libs. This is like, you might have played Mad Libs before with your friends. It's like a game where we have a pre-written story with like certain words that are just blank, and then the players come up with the random words to put into that story when they don't exactly know what the story is. So anyway, it should come out to be funny, and it's a great way to practice using Scanner. Okay, so we're going to make up a story. You guys can do it however you want, but I'm just going to give the example up here. So the first thing we're going to need in our story is the name of our character. So I'm going to type code that asks the user to give a name. So like, and then like before, we're going to want to make a string variable, not like before, but like, we're going to want to make a variable to store the user's answer in. And since this is a name, a word, we're going to use a string variable to store that. And then, like you remember, input dot next line for strings. Actually, that is really awkward wording. So, what is the character's name? We're going to do an adjective now. Type in an adjective, a description word, and then string variable to store that. We're going to do, just for the sake of an integer variable, we're going to do an age. So type a whole number. Oh, typo. This is not a string. This is an interval called age, and we're going to get an int. One more for now. We're going to do type of pet.
Now.
And then store that in a string. Okay, so I'll just give you a couple of minutes to like finish your own. Maybe you want to do different types of variables than I did, or like different questions. Give you a couple minutes for that, and then we'll move on. Okay, so now that we have our variables, we're going to start writing our story. This is going to print the story out to the user, so we're just going to use a print statement. So, okay, we're going to start our story by going, the character's name went for a walk. And to get the character's name, we're just going to use the name variable that we made earlier. So name plus, because name, remember, we're not going to put that in the quotations because we're going to call the actual variable and not just type the word name. Actually, we're gonna say how old the character is.
We could say like went for a walk and saw this many objects, something like that. You don't have to use the number for an age.
Okay, sure. Oops. Okay, name went for a walk. Oh, also notice I'm putting all these spaces like at the beginning and end of the quotations, because if we didn't, it would just, the computer is not going to recognize that we need a space between words, and it's just going to go, Alicia went, instead of Alicia space went. So that's something that people get tripped up on all the time, but it's a really easy fix. It could be a he, saw, and then it's time to use our, okay, I guess it's not an age anymore, number. And then we can do enter if we think it like looks better, or just for organization. So a single line of code doesn't just run all the page, but like there are very specific places where you can do that. She's on number. I don't even know. Butterflies. She went. Okay, I remember why I wanted to do pets. So she went on a walk with her pet. What type of pet is it? We asked for that earlier. And we stored it in the variable pet. So right now I'm gonna read, I'm just gonna put in random things for now. Alicia went for a walk with her pet jaguar. She saw 12 butterflies. And we have an adjective. So we're just gonna use that to describe butterflies. Oh, but notice we need a space between the number and the adjective because, well, the computer is not going to recognize that they're two different words. So, space. And there we go. I think that should be good. So I'm going to run this code.
Does anyone need more time to write your own sentence or copy down whatever Alex has?
Can you scroll back like sideways?
Oh, Alex, do you want to maybe just extend your screen? There you go.
Yeah, I'll just full screen. I'll give y'all like 2 minutes to finish typing or like to make up your own story.
All right, does anyone need more time or are we good to try to run it?
Okay, so I'm just going to compile it up here and then run it. So yeah, it asks us for a random name. Does someone want to give us a random name? Ellie, do you want to give us just a name?
Alex.
Great, okay. An adjective, so like, this can be pretty much anything. Don't think about like what would make sense, just like any adjective to make it funny. Nikki?
Silly. That's what Nikki
Okay.
said.
A whole number. Caitlin, do you want to give a random whole number?
11.
Sure. Sounds great. Oh. Well,
The error showed up. All right, let's fix that error. Okay, so basically, if you guys see how after it says type in an animal, right, we should have been able to type in like dog, cat, giraffe, camel, whatever we wanted, but it skipped over it and directly went to the next thing, which was to print out our whole, what's it called, whole sentence, I guess. So the reason that happens, basically, I'll see if I can try to explain this, is if you see back to the code, this happened after our int number. So after it says type in a whole number. So basically what happens is, if you think about kind of you have like a cursor on your computer, and it picks up whatever is next to it. So after the int, it stays at the end of that line. And we needed to go to the next line in order to pick up what we are going to write there. So because the int, it stays there and it doesn't move to the next line, that's why it skips over the type in an animal. So the way you could fix that is to kind of think about like consuming that extra space, and then you can move over to the next line. So the way you do that is after where it says int number equals input dot next int. After that, and before the next one that you want to get, before the string pet equals input dot next line, what you're just going to do is input dot next. And I think that should fix it. If not, so yeah. So what this is going to do, it's going to get rid of that. It's going to move the cursor from the end where there's nothing after to the next line, where you can then type something in, and then it'll gather that and put it into your next variable. So hopefully this works.
Okay, we'll see. And so much of coding is about troubleshooting, so this should be common. Okay, we're not going to go through asking again. Just do what we had before.
11.
Oof.
Okay, that didn't. Okay, try pressing enter. Okay, that did not work. So
I feel like
let's
Dot
see.
next line.
Dot next. Oh yeah, you might have to do dot next line.
I feel
So as you guys can see, errors are very, very common in Java. As you do more and more, errors will hopefully decrease, but
do you put it here? Do you want me to try dot next line?
Do dot next line where we had it before. Try that.
Okay. Type. Yay. I'm just gonna go for yay.
Yay, so that worked. So I mean, that's a pretty common error when working with scanner. So the reason why next line worked and just dot next didn't was because dot next line, that's why it moves to the next line. It was my bad. I'm sorry about that, but next it wouldn't move it. So you need that next line in order to move it from the end back to the next line where you can then input your next variable. So yeah, there's our little fun little Mad Libs game. Again, you could do anything you want, make it longer, shorter, different kinds of variables, different kind of story. That's just a little simple thing to, I guess, incorporate all the things that we learned from today and yesterday as well.
So we have 5 minutes in the class. You can use time to like maybe make even more variables up here that we ask for so that we can make a more complicated story. Or if you want, you are free to go.
Does anyone have any final questions about anything? All right, cool. So I think our next next lesson is next Saturday, I think.
Wednesday?
Isn't it? Yeah, I think it's next Saturday.
Yeah, it's Saturday.
Yeah.
I have a question actually about the tutoring that I saw in the email. Is that, something we can use to communicate with you about questions?
Did I send you the email yesterday or was it a different email?
I've just seen, at least maybe in a few emails, that there's some kind of tutoring component on, your website. And I'm wondering if it's like, you can just, like go there, not during class times with.
Yeah, so that tutoring thing, I believe it's if you sign up, then you could sign up for like a 30-minute like one-on-one with one of the Girls Coded volunteers. As for just quick questions, I don't think there's currently a function on the site where you can just type in a quick question. I'm not sure really, Alex, do you know, Andrea, if I think they said they're trying to work on it, but I don't think that we have a function like that yet. But the tutoring, yeah, so if you sign up for that, you could sign up for a 30-minute session and then you and whoever, like whichever volunteer you're doing it with, would work out a time together through like Zoom or Google Meet or something like that, and then work on something there. Does that kind of make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so as for just quick questions, I don't think we have anything on the site yet. I think they might be working on it. I'm not 100% sure. Hopefully we can get something like that soon. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right now, if you sorry, but you might just want to try Googling it or saving it for the next class when you can ask us.
Okay, that's true also. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new.
Yeah. From now until May, you can always practice or go back and try to code your own little something. And we just hope you have fun.